Okay, now I did. All right, perfect. Okay, so Enshittification, word of the year, invented by Cory Doctorow. Cory Doctorow, like, I don't know what his official title, but his official title should be a geek. He's a geek, big time. For multiple reasons. He writes sci-fi, he's a developer, he was actually in the KXD comics number of times, and he's a big deal. And he had a blog post first and then a lot of conference talks and keynotes about Enshittification, and this is how he defines it. It's when a platform starts to exploit its user base and at the expense of user experience. A number of platforms come to mind, especially maybe social networks. The idea behind what Cory was trying to say is, like, this is the nature of some not very nice people exploiting others, especially users, and it's like an entire social economic basis to it, with a lot of like chronic capitalism, broken regulations, and this kind of stuff. I highly recommend the original material, the blog post and the conference talks, but I would like to talk about something else today. Before we jump into it, this is how Cory goes about it, right? So platforms gather users by provided value, and then critical mass locks users in, and then platforms stop providing value and sells the users. Right, that sounds very familiar, happened for over and over again on multiple platforms, and obviously Cory here is on point because we all kind of experience it on a daily basis. Reductionist view, purely technical Enshittification, why our software is shit. My name is Baruch Sadogursky. I'm at JBaruch on those and platforms that we just spoke about and others, because users lock in and everything else. Head of developer relations at Toxcare. That's the nice penguin right here. We also do awesome t-shirts. And by the way, I'm personally hiring 2 developer advocates right now. If you are into DevRel and looking for a job, let's talk. If you know someone awesome, let me know. My thing is developer productivity, and I will try to show you how a lot of what's going on in today's software has a lot to do with developer productivity. Personal journey, I started as a developer many years ago and then switched to DevOps with a great company called JFrog that you might have heard about, and spent a couple of years in another great company called Gradle dealing with developer productivity engineering in particular. Java champion, authored couple of books very related to those topics, DevOps Tools for Java Developers and Liquid Software, about how we should release software so it won't suck that much. And the most important slide of this, of the entire talk is this. If you go to speaking.jbaruch, you can go there right now or later at any point of time, you'll find a page dedicated to this talk. It's already had the slide uploaded, the video that I'm recording right now without the first 10 seconds. And then all the links, including the original material of Cory about social economic Enshittification and everything that we are going to talk about from this point onward. It is conveniently on the bottom of every slide, together with hashtag JCON 2025 that you should use when you discuss this talk on the social platforms that were sold to, like, sold the users and all that. If you want to ask questions, I only have 91 slides to go over 45 minutes, so it will be close, but you can use the Slido link to ask questions, and we'll see if we will have time to get to any of those. Okay, my favorite Venn diagram in software engineering in this. Tell me if you can relate, right? There are exceptions, but surprisingly few. software sucks. And the real question is why? Why it sucks so badly? I will start with showing you a couple of examples, just, to get your juices of hate flowing, and then we will try to figure out why everything is so bad. How about an operating system which is basically like a file storage thingy that loses files? Or, you know what, maybe the company that has a slogan of privacy that's Apple actually had one of the biggest privacy kind of blowouts out there. Happened not so long ago, like 6 years ago. I don't remember if you, I'm not sure if you remember that. It was a very strange thing. People would see other people's screens, like other people's cameras, when they called them on, wait a second, important stuff. Right? When they called someone on FaceTime without the other party accepting the call. It really happened. And the most ridiculous is that a mom of a teenager found it while their teenager was playing whatever, Fortnite or something, and contacted Apple support, and they just ignored it for a couple of weeks. And I remember my reaction to that. It was like, how that's even possible? And especially with Apple, who's very proud of doing the privacy thing, right? It was absolutely bizarre. In any way, Twitter or X, troubles there started way before Elon broke it completely. So I don't know if you ever experienced it, if you remember this platform, if you were been there. The auto-scrolling thing, right? You kind of start, you open it, you start to read the first tweet, and then whoosh, it goes away, right? It's been there for a decade at least. Finally, in 2021, that's 5 years ago, someone, Twitter support back then said, you know what, we are going to fix it. Like after 5 years that it existed. It's still there. Right, the problem is still there 5 years later. Now, the funny thing is what people do in order to prevent it. There is like an Apple script that you can program on your phone that will take a screenshot of the page as you open it, so when it goes away, you can go to your gallery and finish reading the fucking tweet. That's absolutely insane. Right, so remember move fast and break things, Facebook and such? They broke things, but they had a good excuse. They moved fast. No one can say that Facebook moves fast anywhere those days. There is literally nothing happening in terms of features and improvements for years, but break things they do. 30,000 open bugs on their platform. As of like today, 30,000. That's pretty impressive. What else? LastPass. I used it for many years. That's like your password manager. And 2015, they had like a very, 2011, they had a pretty bad security incident, the first one, it's weird, 2011. And I remember experiencing it. I was a customer, and I was like, okay, shit happens, it's fine. Now they will double down on security, and it will probably never happen again. They will probably be more secure than others, because now they kind of really invest in it. They had like 7 security accidents since then. One worse than other, including stuff like unencrypted information from people's vaults. That was like really bad, and I'm not their customer anymore. But yeah, they really had one job. This is also awesome. CrowdStrike. take great pride of protecting endpoints from hackers. And you know what? When all the endpoints are down, no one really can hack them. That's one way to resolve it. Last year? Yeah, a year ago. Most of the world airlines were grounded for at least a day. Delta suffered it for like a week after because all their Windows endpoint stations just went blue screen one morning. I was flying that day. That was a very interesting experience. First of all, you go through the airport and there are a lot of screens. There is like the flight information, and then there is like advertisement, and you just walk in a hallway of blue screens around you. That was absolutely surreal. And funny thing is that I actually managed to fly out that day on another airline. I was supposed to fly on United, but eventually I flew out on Southwest. And they didn't have any downtime on this day because there is no CrowdStrike agent for Windows 3.1. I got lucky that day, but you know what? Half a year before that, Southwest was absolutely grounded because they used Windows 3.1. So, the thing is, the technology that they used is really from the 90s. And it just doesn't work that great as of today. So, AI. Let's say AI, what can possibly go wrong? So some studies for you. 2021 research that says like, okay, of the code that AI generated, 40% of this code has security vulnerabilities. 40% of the code generated by AI has security vulnerabilities. I want to present here a story that we will take throughout the entire talk, and that's the story of new Sonos app. So half a year ago, maybe a year ago, Sonos released a new app, and it was an absolutely marvelous disaster. The reason why this is so interesting is because they had multiple whistleblowers that, after the fact, told the press what happened in the company when all this debacle went down. And we will use those testimonials to understand why everything is in the state that it is. So this is an official press release that says, like, on May 7, exactly a year ago, we rolled out a new app, and it has a number of issues. A tiny bit of issues. That's their app reviews, 200,000 reviews on a new app. It's not a new version, so all those reviews are absolutely fresh and new. A couple of days after the release. 1.2 rating, because you cannot give 0 stars. So, another reason why everything is bad is stagnation, right? There is no innovation in software today if you don't count slapping AI chatbot on it, and you shouldn't. Right, so look back at your phone operating system. Last time you were excited about the upgrade, like, oh, that's a new thing. What was it and when? I don't know, Dynamic Island? Anyone was excited about Dynamic Island? And that was like the biggest thing in the last like 5 years or something? Seriously, nothing happens. There is absolutely no difference in the latest versions of operating systems, either between themselves or with the other ones. They are exactly the same and nothing changes. Windows 10 versus Windows 11. Whoever uses Windows, can you name like 3 differences? Well, I'm not a frequent user, but for me, there is like, they look absolutely the same. Yeah, the version number. And you know what? This chart kind of shows that there is generally no difference. The market share doesn't change with the new version because there is nothing new there, and there is no reason for anyone to actually upgrade. Which kind of leads to the question of like why no new software is being released. And this is also very kind of mind-blowing. You can just slap chatbot on and that will be your new feature. And even then, the stories are horrific. That's a story of, again, a year ago, Air Canada chatbot. Someone negotiated like a ticket for $1. And the line of defense of AI was, well, that's not us, that's AI. We have nothing to do with it. It's a thing of its own. We don't have to honor that. It didn't fly in court, but the whole idea is that, hey, if we slap a chatbot on it, that will be our innovation, and then we will say that we actually have zero responsibility for what it does. This is where we are in terms of new features in the apps and services, and even slapping a chatbot on takes years. So September 2023, that's like, what, 2.5 years ago, Amazon promised that Alexa will have an agentic AI in it. So instead of stupid questions, now it'll be mostly wrong questions, but answers, but a little bit less stupid. So they have the hardware, right? So they have the speaker and the microphone and the camera and everything else. They have the backend, which is like AWS services that is running. And you might think, okay, how hard it is to replace like the stupid if-else algorithms that Alexa speaks with us with just a voice interface over OpenAI or whatever. 2.5 years. And then like a couple of months ago, availability Alexa Plus, that's the name, will start rolling out in the US in the next few weeks. That was 10 weeks ago, and obviously it's still not happening. Wireless charger. So Apple started to work on their wireless charger in 2017, and then canceled it 2 years later because they didn't manage to produce a wireless charger. Well, it's not software, but still, I mean. Okay, that's my favorite. Really, this one is just like my blood pressure rises when I even think about it. Anyone remembers this? A new look is coming soon? We saw it every time we signed it with Google for like at least half a year, if not more. Every time you sign in with Google, you see that. New look is coming soon. This is very exciting. You should be really exciting. And then they just move stuff around on the same screen? Right. Yeah, no, well, promises of Elon and their timelines are, that's like a universe of its own. Autonomous Tesla vehicles promised by Elon Musk first in 2013 with the prediction that they will be on the road by 2016. Should I mention that they are not there yet? Obviously, like what? It's like 12 years later and 9 years behind schedule, something like that. And then obviously a Cybertruck that was supposed to have 500 miles of range and start at $40,000 for the American market and promise to be released in 2021. It was released in 2024, well, late 2023, so 2 years later, had the range of under 300, a little bit over half, and the price that was almost 3 times this number. So, not very close. All right, by the way, disclaimer, I have Cybertruck, it's a great car. Regardless of all that, it's still absolutely awesome. All right, bloat. I mean, why do we care about the size of software in 2025 when storage is doesn't cost anything, etc.? Well, there is one good reason. And the reason is, well, you didn't expect a quote from Stalin in this talk, did you? Right. So, yeah. A quantity has a quality of its own, Stalin said once, justifying the cannon meat that he sent to win over the Nazis by tens of millions just to run over tanks and what's not. And yeah, so generally quality has a quantity of its own, but it also works backwards. Sometimes quantity really affects the quality in a bad way. In terms of bloat, it has to do with surface of attack. The more code we have, the more potential security vulnerabilities there are there. And now, the surface of attack is insane because everything is bloated. Right, so Daniel Zander wrote about it, a great article about why bloat is still software's biggest vulnerability. And just to remind you, you go right here to get all the links, including this amazing article. And here, we are likely looking at over 50 million active lines of code to open a garage door. This through an entire stack, right? So you have a mobile app that calls a service that propagates to the operating system. It's first of all the layers of cloud, your first your containerization, and then first virtual machine, and then containerization, and then another virtual machine, and then operating system, and then bare metal, and all in all, it's 50 million lines of code to open a garage door. There is a lot of potential for exploits right there. Right? And it's a big deal. The supply chain attacks, which is exactly what's happening when we bring more dependencies into the picture, is skyrocketing. This is from the software supply chain state survey by Sonotype in 2024, the last one. Look at the amounts. It's like 700,000 malicious packages, and the more dependencies you use, the more chances that you will use one or more of those, exposing your software to it. The problem is that sometimes it's just impossible to reduce the size. Going back to Facebook, the Facebook app for Android is now just under 500 megabytes. And in some point of time, Facebook like, okay, we'll try to reduce the size. It doesn't work. Let's just do another app. It will be 100 times smaller, and it will do pretty much the same. Yeah, Google Chrome obviously has to be mentioned as the elephant by memory consumption. And this is what, like 50 gigabytes of RAM just by sitting there and being open. That's obviously not a new issue. The memes about Chrome eating RAM are numerous and funny. The problem is that Chrome now is almost an operating system for a bunch of other stuff, right? So if Chrome eats RAM, all the browsers that are based on Chrome are eating RAM. Right, all the browsers like Edge and Brave and Opera and Arc and everybody are just Chrome, and they're all eating RAM. And Electron apps are also Chrome, so they're all also eating RAMs. And you use tons of those. You might use Slack. Well, you cannot use Skype anymore. since last week or something, but you might use Slack, and you might use Teams, and you might use GitHub, and Twitch, and so many others. Each and every one of them is a little Chrome that eats tons of RAM. Is it possible to do it differently? So Facebook managed with their own platform, but it's not only that. Here is, for example, Sumatra PDF Reader. Sumatra PDF Reader renders PDF files, and its size is 16 megabytes. You know what other app displays PDF? Adobe Acrobat. It requires almost a gigabyte of space for the exact same purpose of showing you PDF files. 16 versus almost a gigabyte. And obviously 2 gigabytes of RAM, because why not? Right, so websites are not better in any way. This graph is very disturbing. By the way, I have no idea what happened in in 2019. This is very weird. But other than that, the line is very disturbing. And it's not only desktop, it's also mobile, and it only goes up. Another problem is that when eventually sites and applications add features, those features are completely off the mark of what the users actually ask. Windows 10 and Windows 11 example, this is just weird. The number of, well, I did a very stupid proxy metric, but I just counted the characters in articles about leaving, removing and adding features between Windows 10 and Windows 11. What was it? 5,100 characters about features removed from Windows 11, and 1,300, just over double, of features added in Windows 11. So this is weird. I mean, they remove so many features to add other features, and eventually, as you remember, there is not a lot of adoption of Windows 11, because apparently the features that have added plus the features that they removed don't add up. Back to our friend Sonos. So the reason why the new app was so terrible is that it was pushed by any costs. And you can see here with the beginning of the stories from the whistleblowers, the app was removed, was released on May 7th, and it lacked features like sleep timers, local music library management, and ability to edit playlists or add them to the queue. This is a music management app. This is what it's supposed to do. And it didn't have any of that on the release date. And now we're getting to the second part of our talk, and this is why. So, as I mentioned, Sonos gives us a very insightful look into what actually happened, because there are workers that shared it, and it was absolutely brilliant to see what's going on, right? So the first thing is no one writes new code. And you cannot create new product without writing code. But you can see the studies, one after another, that find horrific statistics like this. Median code time per developer per day is under 1 hour of 8 hours, 9 hours workday. There are good reasons for it not to be 8 hours, obviously. No one really should write code 8 hours in a row, but obviously not 52 minutes. And it's not only the fault of the developers that do something else during this time. A lot of it is on management. And there are so many ways to screw things up when you are in management. with overconfidence. This is from Sonos whistleblowers. So they had a very, Sonos chief product officer reportedly instituted the company reorganizations that caused chaos. People who have been following so reorganizations right before the release. They separated people that has been working together for years, creating great products, and I don't understand what would motivate someone shake things up like that. Workers who pointed at this as a problem were yelling and screaming at the meetings by the managers. And this kind of stuff can really kill productivity, obviously. Attention Span is a great book that you can find the link of right here, by Gloria Mark, and she's a professor who specialized in attention, human attention. 15 years of research from her doctorate all the way to last year ended up in this great book, and a couple of interesting facts from this book that are relevant to us are those. Our emails steering our focus 77 times a day. I mean, you probably know that you check your email more often than you should, but did you realize it's 77 times? I have one better. So I have a question for you. When you are distracted by something, let's say you run a build, local build, and then while it's running, you go ahead and check the emails one of the 77 times. How long it will take you to get back to what you did before? 15? 15? Half an hour? Shout it out.
Next day.
No, next day, well, that's extreme. 15 minutes, half an hour, that's very much in the ballpark.
Depends on the email.
Yeah, on average, it takes you 25 minutes to return focus to a task after interaction. Now, what does it mean? It means that the task that you distracted from now takes 25 minutes. Let's say you have a build, and your build takes 1 minute. And this 1 minute, you sit and you see the build passing. 1 minute is not enough to get distracted, and then your build takes 1 minute. Let's say your build takes 5 minutes, and in a 2 minutes mark, you get bored, and you're like, okay, I'm going to check my email. How long your build takes now? 25 minutes. Exactly. Rigid deadlines, especially artificial ones, are terrible for productivity. This is exactly Sonos again, right? So they were very strict about the deadline of this app. It has to be released on May 7th, no matter what. And that's because they actually had a hardware device, the Sonos Ace, that was supposed to be announced. And they didn't want to add the support for the new device to the old app because the new app was coming. And the problem is that when they had the knowledge that they are not going to be able to release the new app, they didn't pivot. When they had the knowledge that it's going to be disaster, they still kept on it. We're going to get back to that, to the point of having enough knowledge to make smart decisions. And when developers eventually do code, they are completely drawn in technical depth. And you cannot create value fast if you are drowning in technical depth. And again, Sonos. One reason for the app's failure is the outdated code and infrastructure that the previous app was running on. Sonos app technical depth has been building for up to 20 years before the update. 20 years. And it's not just Sonos. There is research now that actually says that What impact of technical debt have on your ability to innovate? Most of the people, 80%, say that they have at least a significant to very significant impact. 80% of people of developers being slowed down by technical debt. That's why nothing is done. One very nice metric of measuring technical debt in your organization, in your project, is onboarding time for a new developer. A time to first commit is a great proxy metric for technical debt. And again, here is another blog post about that, and you can find it and speak it at JBaruch. How it correlates almost 100%. Think about it, it makes sense. It's a great metric to start tracking. Right, and let's add AI. What can possibly go wrong? Obviously, garbage in, garbage out. There are a lot of studies that actually say that here is a comparison between GitHub Copilot, Amazon Code Whisperer, and what else? ChatGPT. 65, 43, and 31% of the time, the code that is generated is just wrong. On average, half of the code generated by generative AI is just wrong. Not only that, AI gets creative with technical debt. Here's another research that shows that AI-generated code came up with 4 new technical debt types that didn't even exist before, that we need to deal with now. And this is very, very impressive. And of course, more code, especially bad code, makes it impossible to understand the technology. Right? And a great example is security. The problem with security is that it is extremely complicated to begin with, and it's actually not our job as developers directly to understand it, but it is our job to make sure that our code is secure. And that's a very nasty combination. And wrong features. How do product managers know what they want? They really don't. And there is a research that proves that product managers actually guessed most of the time. Well, almost most of the time. Well, yes, most of the time. 45% of product managers are creating and modifying products and services based on analytics. Which means 55%, most of the time, it's just guesswork. Right? And what do? Let's just copy the current thread, what everybody else does. What comes to mind? AI. What else comes to mind? Blockchain. What else comes to mind? TikTok. Seriously. Everything is TikTok. Everything is the same stupid reels that you can scroll for hours, and this is what everybody does. There are banks that introduce stories into their apps. I kid you not. Right? And obviously, as I mentioned, the AI assistants everywhere. This is my WhatsApp. I discovered, like, before this talk that I actually have a conversation with Meta AI in my WhatsApp. That I actually managed to message it something that I have no idea what it even means. And it was, like, absolutely bizarre. Right. We have, 10 minutes to fix everything. Let's fix everything in 10 minutes. We can do it. Okay. The most important part is to realize what you can really change. And that goes not only into your work, but also organization you work with. Sometimes you just need to say, you know what? There is nothing to be salvaged here. I'm going away. And that's a good move. But if you can change stuff in your organization, let's talk about what we can actually do. Productivity. How to write more code. Concrete and useful tips. Fast feedbacks equals fast fixes. Remember the story with the build? The faster you get fixed, you have a report that something is broken, the faster you can fix it. Automation of everything. Manual toil is the way to die. Not only because It's not the same every time when you do things manually, not only because it's boring and then you go to read emails and then you come back in 25 minutes and you code at 52 minutes a day, but also because you usually do it wrong because it's boring and complicated and it's not. Power naps. Do that, especially when you work from home. You really should take a nap. Go to speaking.jbaruch. There is a great resource that explains how caffeine naps work. The idea is that you drink coffee before you take a nap, and then you wake up 20 minutes later when the caffeine kicks in and you are alive. And this is awesome. Distractions are terrible. Your Slack, your email, what's not, and your meetings. There is a better way. One of the apps that I really love deeply called Reclaim AI. Go to speaking.jbaruch to get the link. This is a calendar manager that smartly protects your time. You can say how much time you want in a day to be focused, and it will arrange it around playing with your availability for others to protect this time. If you just block your entire calendar, it won't happen. People will ignore it because they need to meet with you, and they will constantly block meetings over your focus time, disregarding it entirely because you don't have any other availability. But if you do it smartly and allow people to schedule meetings and only then block the focus time around it, and this is what this app does, it will actually help you to manage your time better. Use AI, but use it smartly. First of all, if you want to code with AI, use good AI agents, which are tailorly made for better code. There are also techniques like intent integrity chain that can help you write better code with AI and not just garbage in, garbage out. Right, so that's the really good tools that are specialized in writing code. There are tools that specialize on quality, like Codo, for example. I think I have shout out for them right here. And obviously, local models are also your friend because they are faster if you give them enough hardware, and they are you have control and privacy. Agentic AI, as I mentioned, is very cool if it does the right thing. So JetBrains Juni is very powerful and getting better by the day. Windsurf, which was acquired by OpenAI a couple of days ago, I think, is also very, very good as being very powerful agentic AI. Visual Studio Code with the agent mode, they all pretty much do the same. Cursor as well. There are people that love one over another. You can tailor them to actually emit good code, and this is important. Codo that I mentioned is a specialized agent that specialized on quality. Getting AI fight over your code is great because you will get eventually better quality out of this. So you write code in Juni and then you check code with Codo, and this actually works. Basic principles like Agile are still very relevant. And I'm not talking about the ceremony of Scrum. I'm talking about the essence of Agile, which is react and don't plan for years ahead. Remember adjusting to the timelines with Sonos? Decide late, but not too late. This is critical. You defer your decisions to the point that you have the most information available. Should Sonos release the new app in 2 weeks? We don't know. Now, a week from now, we see that it's not ready. It's not going to be ready. We scramble the launch and we postpone it. This is the true Agile, not your daily stand-ups and whatever, like predictive poker or whatever bullshit it is. Small bets win. If you do small experiments, they're easier to throw away. Also, very important basic Agile principle. And done is better than perfect. This is one of my favorite expressions ever because it is very important. Paralysis over perfection is killing everything. One of my favorite actors is Mark Schwartz. He wrote a lot of books that generally speak about the concepts of Agile, what we spoke about, in very great examples of IT. There are a lot of books. If you want to read just a couple, that would be The Art of Business Value and The War, Peace, and IT. And just to remind you, all the links are speaking.jbaruch. DevOps, again, those are great principles that we really should re-embrace. Stuff like DevOps teams is a big no-no, but DevOps as a culture, definitely yes. Don't do manual work. We spoke about automation. Release, if it's painful, if the releases are terrible, you should do them more because they should become a habit and you will clear a lot of quirks on the way when you do it more. And stuff like feature flags, you test in production anyway because that's the only way you can actually test, and the only real quality is what your users experience. So at least make it less painful for the customers by using stuff like feature flags and stuff, right? And write good code. Well, that sounds very actionable, obviously, but I do have a couple of tips. The first is write for future you. What idiot wrote this happened to me multiple times. I guess you can relate. Because we want to be very clever in the moment, that's not the way to go. The way to go is make our code simple and readable. And readable is better than clever. If it calls for a comment, it's a bad code, even if it looks very, very smart for you at the moment. And refactoring goes right into the column of battling technical debt, and this is very, very important. Technical debt, you have to kill it before it kills you, because as you saw, it really kills you. What else? Write docs, find docs. Documentation is a pain because they are static, they are write once and read probably never. There is a better way. Again, with AI, surprisingly, stuff like Naboo, and that's another great example of AI implemented correctly. This is a system that brings documentation into the context of what you are doing right now. You are in Jira, you are in Slack, you are in code, you see the relevant parts of the documentation appear right there, right then, with relation to everything else. Think negatively. This is an interesting one. I'm generally an optimist, so it's kind of hard for me, but it's only very important for us to think negatively in our code. And what I'm talking about is hackers love optimistic devs. If you only think about a positive scenario, my code works, it does what it needs to be done, this is obviously very, very dangerous because you ignore errors, you ignore potential avenues of attack, and this is obviously bad. And retries and fallbacks, happy users, resilience, back pressure, and all this kind of stuff, this is also something that we don't think enough. And obviously monitoring isn't optional, observability is something that is absolutely critical. Right? Know what you don't know, then there is a lot, but there is no reason to panic. One of the things that you don't know, and we already mentioned, is security, because it's dumped on your lap, but it's extremely complicated. Sometimes you can delegate, and hey, Taxcare, thank you for paying. And Secure Chain for Java is an example of those things that you can delegate. When you have security vulnerabilities in your code that you are unable to migrate immediately, instead of spending months in migrations that are not a good time because you have a release, for example, you can actually use what we provide, and those are secure artifacts for the libraries that you use to patch those vulnerabilities instead of using necessarily the latest versions. We're almost done. And last one is helping your business. Again, remember, only if you can, but if you can, do that. Talk their talk. Stuff like, well, sooner release might not sound very business oriented, but faster time to market suddenly does. Sarcasm, well, aren't we all? I have a secret for you. Business people hate when you're being sarcastic. They really do. And that drives them mad. Don't do that. Surprises are bad. Flag issues early. This goes into Agile as well. If you want your managers to defer decisions, you need to give them, and to change those decisions, you need to give them information. You need to flag problems that might, for example, delay a release early enough so the release will be rescheduled. And yes, meeting sucks. We spoke about it, about calendar and what's not. If you are proactive enough and you write enough emails, then you will save time of not sitting in meetings. Sometimes. Right? So, just to summarize, everything is terrible, but it doesn't have to be. And it's not just you. Enshittification is real and it's everywhere. It's really in every software, wherever you look. And developer productivity and managerial decisions are definitely to blame, as we learned, but we can do better with both. You, the developer, can help. And with that, thank you very much. Do we want to do any questions at all, or we don't have time for that? It's fine. Yeah, okay, I'm around. Find me if you have any questions. Thank you.